Well, hello and warm welcome back to another week on my allotment. It's nice and early, it's a Saturday morning. Again, I've had permission from the boss to come up on a different day because of the weather. It's 5:30, I'm just watching the sun rise. One advantage of getting here this time, and I've been here half an hour, is I've walked around the plot. The slugs, like many people, think 5 o'clock in the morning is in the middle of the night. So I've managed to discover a lot of slugs on my crops, pick them off and dispatch them. And for the first time ever, in the 8 years I've had an allotment, I've used slug pellets all over the plot. Normally I try and avoid it if I can, but this year there's no choice. If you don't use slug pellets, they're gone. And I've, for example, the beetroot, I scattered some slug pellets on the whole bed, and I've found slugs all over the leaves this morning, so the pellets are completely ineffective. On Monday, I put the pumpkins in. I put 5 pumpkins in a row. No, that was Tuesday. Tuesday I planted them. Wednesday I work up the Wye Valley all day long, and it rained for over 24 hours on Wednesday, and all those 5 pumpkins had garlic spray on them and slug pellets. When I came back on the Thursday, only 2 of the pumpkin plants were left. The other 3 had been bitten off at the stem and were withered and dead. So the first thing to report is that the garlic spray doesn't work if it rains. It clearly gets washed off. Either that or it's ineffective in the first place. The second thing is the new ferrous slug pellets, which replace the metaldehyde, is it? They're ineffective. They don't work. So yeah, the struggle with slugs continues. I have planted some replacement pumpkins. I've come up this morning, and of the 5, 1 has gone. And I've put all my courgette plants in now. I have no spares. All the slack has been taken up by the slugs, and if these ones get eaten, then we'll have no courgettes this year. We've had no broad beans. I've had 1 picking, and I'm going to get 1 more today, and then that's it. The replacement broad beans I've grown are now infested with black fly. So yeah, it's proving a challenge. So I don't wish to start the whole thing on a depressing note, but it's hard to avoid it when things are going so badly. Anyway, it's not all doom and gloom. There are some things. The greenhouse at home is fine. I go in every morning and I find slugs every morning, and again I dispatch them, but it's a bit harder for them to get to the crops in the greenhouse. So I think we'll start off by having a quick look at what's going on in the greenhouse. Then we'll have a wander around the plot. I'll show you what's been going on this week, and then I've got a few jobs to do. Well, the greenhouse is 35 degrees C. The tomatoes are well bedded in, so that's Gardener's Delight, 2 Tigerella and 2 Crimson Crush. The Fem Spot cucumbers are growing up, and the basil's doing fine next to it. Then I've got celery, again with saucers to keep it moist. A few lettuce I couldn't fit in anywhere else, and then the peppers. And I'm starting to see the fruit develop. And then runner beans, lettuce waiting to go in, and I've sown some best of all swede for the autumn. So it's all laid out for the summer, and it's all doing very well so far. Right, back to the plot. Well, here's an example of one of those gardening myths, and that myth is biodiversity. The greater the biodiversity of your garden, the more in harmony it is, as the pests are eaten by the predators. Well, you can see there's a ladybird, and there are a couple of others on this field bean that's a legacy of the winter. and it's infested with black fly. There's another ladybird in there. So there are ladybirds all over this, and they're making absolutely no difference. Now luckily this is a field bean. I'm not wanting a crop off it. I've just let it grow because I was interested to see how big it would get. It was one of the green manures that didn't work. But that's an example. We're all told, encourage the predators in and they'll deal with your pests. It's not true. So, other than biodiversity, what else is happening on the plot? Well, the pea purple magnolia is just starting to flower up, and they are particularly attractive flowers. They're all a bit closed at the moment, but when they open they are a treasure. So got to keep an eye out for the purple snap peas as they appear, but they're looking good. The potatoes, I did a little bit of earthing up this week, not a great deal, but this shows that's Charlotte, a row of second early Charlottes, and then these are 2 rows of main crop Java. And as I explained before, these are 2 feet apart and these are 1 feet apart, and they rather nicely displays that there. Swinging you round, at some point I've got to harvest all this comfrey. It's just difficult to do when you see so many bees enjoying it. Right, so this is the first row of pumpkins that I put in, and most of these are replacement plants. These are the 2 here that survived the Wednesday rain, and when I say survived I use the term loosely, because if you look at that, which is absolutely smothered in slug pellets, including those wool slug pellets, the slugs just simply moved over them or came up underneath them and ate the pumpkin. In fact, I think oh no, it's still hanging on. I do still have a few replacements, and I think that one will need replacing, but none of these pellets that I'm absolutely plastering the plants in make any difference. I came here this morning and there was a big fat slug already on that plant. Right, moving around. My initial sowing of thousands of flyaway carrot seeds almost completely didn't germinate. So I've had to, this is what happens. See, there's a carrot there. So there's one in that tub, but it's absolutely being smothered in weeds. So I've done most of these, and at some point today I've got these 2 to do. Take the mesh off, dig out all the weeds and re-sow. There's no point sowing that one because I haven't got any more mesh, and they'll just be ruined by carrot fly as they were last year. The apple tree is very well adorned. Granny Smith, looking good. The second row of pumpkins, these are a variety called Zombie. And you can see the one on the end, again covered in slug pellets and covered in slugs. Anyway, I've laboured the point enough. Right, onto the plot main. Well, you can see here in the beetroot bed, they're all multi-sown, that my initial sowings, some of them have managed to get away, and they'll probably produce a crop. And then there's a row here and a few fillers of a second sowing of multi-sown beetroot that I filled in the gaps and then smothered with more slug pellets. And again, this morning when I got here, there were various shapes and sizes of slugs all over them. And then this bed here, the bamboo canes have got cobra climbing French bean on, and then surrounding them are a dwarf bean called the Prince. We'll see how they do, and it's mirrored on the other side. Again, a very liberal dose of slug pellets. We shall see. What has helped this week is, apart from Wednesday, which rained all day, it's been dry, so that has helped a bit, I think. Right, tomatoes. These, as you know, went in the ground at the beginning of May, which, you know, is a silly thing to do, but I seem to have got away with it. Some of them have been nipped out. I've never had slug damage on tomatoes before, but this year I've had quite a bit. Well, it's my own fault for putting them out so early. They should have been bigger, stronger plants, but apart from a couple that have had the leaders nipped out, so they won't develop, I don't think. Unless a side shoot can be tied in, I might try that. They're doing okay. Peas, pea alderman, starting to produce flowers on that taller second row. They're looking good. And then here is my attempt, in all sorts of different fashions, mostly using a moat to keep slugs off the butternut. Those are the butternut squash, and these are the winter squash and mashed potato, and then that's what's left of my replacement substitute pumpkins. It's about 5 or 6 plants there. I planted some more leeks in the week, and then there's a second bed of tomatoes, and then another Harris fencing of peas. Those peas are struggling with slugs. I picked a few off this morning. I don't think it helps that the allotment next door is just waste ground, so I think the slugs come across there. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. These are the extra celery plants that didn't fit in the greenhouse, so I've brought them up, and they're in saucers which are obviously full of water, and I'm hoping that will keep the slugs off as well as the pellets. So far so good. And these strawberry plants, I had nowhere else to put them, and they're starting to produce strawberries, which is lovely to see. Another job I've got today is to clear that bench. We're now getting day, I mean it's still quite chilly this morning, but during the day it warms up and I'd like to be able to sit at the bench. At the moment I can't get near it, so I've got to clear that table today. And then I lost a tomato. These are Tumbling Tom. Is it Tumbling Tom Thumb? No, it's Tumbling Tom. There were 2 tomato plants in that, but I lost one. Guess what? Yes, to slugs. I actually had the slug on the stump. So I've brought a replacement plant up. I'm going to plant that in there today. And then the cosmos were planted this week. And you can see there the one, and there's lots of slug pellets around them, but the one plant got half nibbled off. Never did find the culprit. And then these lobelia in these pots. Hopefully at some point they'll flower. I was talking to John on his plot yesterday, and he said, I've got a question from my wife. She wants to know, why was D-Day called D-Day? Well, I happen to know. D-Day isn't unique to the Normandy landings. It's a phrase that's used for military operations. The day of the operation, whatever it may be, is D-Day, and the hour you go is H-hour. It's a bit odd, but that's where it comes from. Anyway, it got me thinking, and I've told this tale before, but when my daughter passed out as an RAF police officer, she passed out at a place called Southwark Park, which is spelt Southwick. Now that's got unique history because it's where Dwight Eisenhower based his headquarters prior to the Normandy landings. And when we went into it's now the officers' mess, they gave us a tour and a little chat, and it was explained that this wall is the whole of the map of D-Day, and it's built out of plywood. And a couple of weeks before D-Day, 2 local carpenters were employed to make this, but they couldn't tell them to just make the Normandy bit, otherwise it would give away where the Normandy landings were. So they were told to make the whole of the coast of France, and then just before 2 weeks before the landings, they were told to put the bit of Normandy up and throw the rest away. They were then jailed so that they couldn't leave the camp. They were very well looked after. Their wives were informed where they were, but they weren't allowed to leave for 2 weeks, which is quite funny. Anyway, it was a lovely day, and it's a fascinating piece of history. But I've got some facts about D-Day I'd like to share with you. They're mildly interesting. To plan for D-Day, the BBC ran a photographic competition for photos of the French beaches, gathering intelligence. The conditions had to be just right for D-Day. It had to be a full moon with a spring tide. They wanted to land on a flood tide when it was about halfway in. The weather was so bad that the German commander, Erwin Rommel, went home to Germany to give his wife new shoes for her birthday. I tell you what, new shoes for women have caused so much trouble. Lord Lovat landed on Sword Beach with his commando brigade. He was accompanied by his bagpiper, Glaswegian Bill Millin. Millin played his pipes as he walked ashore. German prisoners later admitted they could have shot him, but they didn't, as they thought he'd lost his mind. Hungarian photographer Robert Capa landed on Omaha Beach in one of the earliest waves. He took over 100 photographs, but an overexcited darkroom assistant melted the majority of these pictures during development. Only 11 survived, and they are all blurry because he was shaking with fear. There were men from 13 different countries took part in D-Day. Can you guess which countries they were? We'll call Britain one country. Before D-Day, mini-subs crept into the beaches at night, and engineers would swim ashore, taking samples of the soil and sand, and then swim back. They slept in the subs by day and then went back ashore the following night. The British infantryman was paid £3 a day. The American infantryman was paid £12 a day. I've served with Americans many times. Let me tell you, that pay disparity continues to this day. Only 15% of the paras landed in the right place. The first Allied soldier killed was Lieutenant Herbert Denham Brotheridge just after midnight while leading a charge to take Pegasus Bridge. The fighting during the Battle of Normandy that followed D-Day was as bloody as it had been in the trenches of the First World War. Casualty rates were slightly higher during a typical day than during the Battle of the Somme in 1916. The nationalities were British, US, Canadian, Polish, Greek, Australian, New Zealand, Belgium, Czechoslovakia, Denmark, the Netherlands, Norway and France. And here's the best of all. The day after D-Day, French police raided a brothel that French prostitutes had set up in a damaged landing craft on the beaches. I think that's such entrepreneurship to look out on the beaches of Normandy and see 7,000 ships, and your first thought is, come on girls, there's money to be made. And what the hell were the French police up to? I'm surprised they weren't shot. Anyway, quite interesting. Well, for better or worse, the only sweet peas I've got are in. Just going to give them a water and then put a liberal splash of slug pellets around them. And we'll see how they get on. I do like sweet peas. They're a lot of work in the summer, but I think they're worth it, and it's nice to take them home. Well, the sun is up. It's starting to warm up on the plot on this bank holiday weekend. Hope you're enjoying yours, whatever you're doing. I have said before, I think, that I thought this dahlia was dead. It's a beautiful white dahlia with pink tinge. But I'm pleased to report there's signs of life. The leaves and shoots are starting to appear. It's very, very late. It's a good month behind. But interestingly, so are all my dahlias in the front and back garden. They're at exactly the same stage as this. I don't know why that is this year, but I am pleased that they're all coming back. I hope there's room for a second tomato. And while I put this up, I don't know if it's in shot, but these cucumbers, Fem Spot F1. I grew 4 or 5, that was all there was in the packet of seeds, and they all came up. 2 of them have gone in the greenhouse and are growing very well. These 2 are spares. I've got no use for them at home. There's no more room in our little greenhouse, so they're not out. Oh, that's the kettle. They're not outdoor types, but I'm going to grow them and see what happens. I mean, if they wither and die, well, nothing lost really, so we shall see. But I think it's good to challenge conventional wisdom. Usually conventional wisdom is right, but not every time. Right, well, broad bean part 2, and this one is called Oscar. We'll see if I have any more luck. What a scorcher! Saturdays are definitely a more popular day. There's been a few people up here, not many, but a few. John's still here, but I've had it. I've had enough for the day. I get a few hours on everybody else when I get up here at 5. So yeah, I've had a productive day. We shall see what the forecast for the week is wet. We'll see. We'll see what the slugs and the black fly get up to. But I'm pleased that I got rid of the old crop of broad beans. I've got the new broad bean in called Oscar. We'll see how it fares. I've never had any luck with spring sown broad beans. Anyway, it is what it is. We can't do anything about that. It's just a bad year for slugs. But the plot's looking good. You know, apart from those problems, it's all very neat and tidy. I'm very happy with the state of play. I'm on top of it. Bearing in mind we had that week away, it doesn't take me long now to just get everything tickety-boo again. Well, I hope you're enjoying your garden, wherever it may be. And all being well, I'll be around next weekend. Who knows? We are quite busy at the moment with trying to declutter prior to moving. So it's car boot sales, tip runs. So I'm not quite sure what our schedule is, but at the earliest opportunity I shall be back. Until then, look after yourselves, take care, bye for now.